My ex tried to sabotage my new relationship by spreading lies to my partner. I confronted him with proof and cut contact. That was 2 months ago. Today, he's begging me to take him back. So here I am, sitting in my Toyota Camry in the Target parking lot, still shaking from what just went down. I need to get this all out because honestly, I'm still processing everything that's happened over the past few months. This whole situation has been absolutely wild, and I'm hoping maybe some of you can relate or at least help me wrap my head around it all. Let me start from the beginning. About 8 months ago, I ended things with my ex. Let's call him Jake. We'd been together for almost 3 years, and honestly, it should have ended way sooner. Jake was one of those guys who seemed perfect on paper, but was actually controlling as heck. He'd get weird about me hanging out with friends, would forget to tell me about plans until the last minute, and had this way of making me feel like I was always doing something wrong. The final straw was when he went through my phone while I was sleeping and then tried to gaslight me about it the next morning. I was done. Breaking up with Jake was messy. He kept showing up at my apartment, blowing up my phone, and even had the audacity to show up at my work a few times. My manager at the clinic where I work as a nurse had to have security escort him out twice. It was embarrassing and honestly pretty scary. But after about a month of this nonsense, he finally seemed to get the message and backed off. That's when I met Marcus. Man, meeting Marcus was like a breath of fresh air after being underwater for years. We met at a friend's barbecue. He was grilling burgers and making everyone laugh with his terrible dad jokes. He had this easy smile and actually listened when I talked, which felt revolutionary after Jake. Marcus worked in IT, loved hiking, and made the best pancakes I'd ever tasted. We started hanging out more, and before I knew it, we were official. Things with Marcus were different in the best way. He encouraged me to hang out with my friends, supported my decision to go back to school for my nurse practitioner degree, and never once made me feel like I had to walk on eggshells around him. We'd spend Sunday mornings drinking coffee and reading the paper together, and he'd surprise me with little things like my favorite Starbucks order or tickets to see bands I mentioned liking. It felt healthy and normal and good. That should have been the end of the Jake chapter of my life, but apparently he had other plans. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support so far. Reading these comments is helping me process everything. I'm about to tell you about what Jake did next, and honestly, I'm still mad about it. Quick question though, have any of you dealt with an ex who just couldn't let go, even after you'd clearly moved on? Because what happened next was beyond anything I could have imagined. About 2 months into my relationship with Marcus, things started getting weird. Marcus began asking me strange questions about my past, about whether I'd been honest with him, about certain things. At first, I figured maybe he was just getting those normal relationship jitters, you know? Sometimes when things are going well, you start waiting for the other shoe to drop. But then Marcus started pulling back. Our usual. Wednesday night dinners got canceled. He'd take hours to respond to texts when he used to reply right away. When I'd suggest hanging out, he'd have excuses. Work was crazy, he was tired, his buddy needed help moving. I knew something was up, but I couldn't figure out what. The breaking point came on a Thursday night. I'd made dinner reservations at this cute Italian place we'd been wanting to try, and Marcus showed up 30 minutes late looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. He barely touched his chicken parmesan and kept checking his phone. Finally, I called him out on it. Okay, what's going on? You've been acting weird for weeks, and I'm tired of pretending everything's fine. Marcus put down his fork and looked at me with these sad eyes. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. My stomach dropped. Okay, shoot. Did you cheat on your ex? Is that why you guys broke up? I nearly choked on my water. What? No! Where the heck is this coming from? That's when Marcus pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots of messages he'd been receiving from fake social media accounts. Someone had been messaging him for weeks, claiming to be Jake's friend, telling him that I'd cheated multiple times during our relationship, and that I was probably doing the same thing to him. The messages were detailed and convincing, mentioning specific restaurants Marcus and I had been to, even describing what I'd worn on certain dates. I felt sick. Marcus, this is complete garbage. I never cheated on Jake, ever. And how would some random friend of his know where we've been or what I wear? But I could see the doubt in Marcus's eyes. The messages had done their job, even though he wanted to believe me. That seed of suspicion had been planted and watered for weeks. We left the restaurant early, and I spent the next 3 days calling Jake nonstop. He wouldn't answer, wouldn't respond to texts, nothing. I was furious and desperate to clear my name. Marcus had asked for some space to think things through, which felt like a punch to the gut. That's when I decided to get creative. I knew Jake's patterns, knew he'd probably be at his usual Friday night hangout spot, this sports bar called Rookies where they had cheap wings and showed all the games. Sure enough, I walked in, and there he was, posted up at the bar with a Bud Light, watching the Lakers game like he didn't have a care in the world. I marched right up to him. We need to talk. Now. Jake turned around with this smug smile that made me want to throw his beer in his face. Hey there, stranger. Long time no see. Cut the act, Jake. I know what you've been doing. He played dumb, of course, claimed he had no idea what I was talking about, said maybe Marcus was just seeing red flags that I couldn't see. The whole time he's talking, I'm recording on my phone, hidden in my purse. Here's where Jake messed up big time. He'd had a few beers, and his filter was basically non-existent. When I kept pressing him, he finally got cocky. Look, maybe someone's just looking out for the guy. Maybe someone thinks he deserves to know what kind of person he's really dating. Maybe someone thinks you made a mistake breaking up with them and is trying to help you see that. So you admit you're the one messaging him? Jake laughed and took another swig of his beer. I'm not admitting anything. But hypothetically, if someone was doing that, maybe it's because they know you better than anyone else does. Maybe they know you'll realize you're settling for some boring tech guy when you could have something real again. I had everything I needed. Jake had basically confessed to the whole scheme, and it was all recorded on my phone. Update. You guys, the support. In the comments is overwhelming. Thank you so much. I'm getting to the good part now, where I finally got my revenge on this manipulative jerk. But first, I need to know, should I have handled this differently? Part of me wonders if I should have just blocked Jake and moved on, but honestly, I was so angry about him messing with my relationship that I wanted him to face consequences. Was I wrong for what I did next? I left rookies feeling like I had a bomb in my pocket. The recording was clear as day. Jake admitting to trying to sabotage my relationship, basically confessing to creating fake accounts and harassing Marcus. I drove straight to Marcus's apartment, my heart pounding the whole way. Marcus opened the door looking surprised to see me. He'd been in his weekend clothes, old Nike shorts and a faded college t-shirt, and had clearly been having a lazy Saturday, playing video games. Hey, I know you said you needed space, but I have something you really need to hear. I played him the recording right there in his doorway. Watching his face change as he heard Jake's voice was like watching a storm clear. The confusion, then anger, then this look of complete understanding washed over him. That absolute piece of garbage, Marcus said, running his hands through his hair. I can't believe I fell for that nonsense. I'm so sorry I doubted you. We spent the next hour going through all the fake messages Marcus had received, comparing them to what we knew about Jake. It was scary how much effort Jake had put into this whole thing. He'd created multiple fake accounts with different names and profile pictures. He'd apparently been following us on social media, noting details about our dates to make his lies more believable. It was full-on stalker behavior. Marcus was furious, not just at Jake, but at himself for believing it. I should have come to you immediately when I started getting those messages. I should have trusted you. Hey, they were convincing. He's manipulative, that's what he does. But I wasn't about to let Jake get away with this. The next Monday, I filed a police report for harassment. I also reported the fake accounts to Instagram and Facebook with screenshots of all the messages. Most importantly, I sent the recording to Jake's work email. See, Jake worked at this fancy marketing firm downtown, the kind of place that really cares about their reputation and their employees' behavior. In the recording, Jake had clearly identified himself and talked about his job when he was trying to impress some girl at the bar. His company took the harassment pretty seriously, especially since he'd used company time and probably company devices to create some of those fake accounts. Within a week, Jake was calling me nonstop, but this time it wasn't to harass me. It was to beg me not to pursue things further. Apparently, he was facing some serious consequences at work and was freaking out about the police report. I blocked his number and told him through a mutual friend that if he contacted me or Marcus again, in any way I'd be getting a restraining order. I also made it clear that I had copies of everything saved in multiple places, so any future nonsense would just add to the evidence pile. For about 6 weeks, everything was quiet. Marcus and I got back to normal, stronger than ever, actually. Going through that whole mess together had shown us both that we could handle drama and come out okay on the other side. We started talking about moving in together, maybe getting a dog. Life was good. Then today happened. I was leaving Target after grabbing some stuff for a friend's baby shower when I heard someone calling my name across the parking lot. I turned around, and there was Jake, jogging toward me like we were old friends meeting up for coffee. He looked rough. His usual perfectly styled hair was a mess. He'd lost weight, and he was wearing clothes that looked like he'd slept in them. As he got closer, I could smell alcohol on him, even though it was barely noon on a Tuesday. Please, just hear me out, he said, slightly out of breath. I know I messed up. I know I did everything wrong. I started walking toward my car, keys, ready. Jake, I told you not to contact me. I'm serious about that restraining order. Wait, please, I lost my job. I lost everything. I know it's my fault, but I can't stop thinking about us, about what we had. I stopped walking and turned to face him. What we had? Jake, what we had was toxic and awful. You were controlling and manipulative, and then when I finally got the courage to leave, you tried to ruin my new relationship. What exactly do you think we had that was worth all this? That's when Jake completely broke down. Right there in the Target parking lot, this grown man started crying and begging me to give him another chance. He said he'd been going to therapy, that he realized how wrong he'd been, that he'd do anything to make it right. I love you, he kept saying. I've always loved you, and I know you still love me too. That's why you're so angry, because you care. I felt sorry for him for about 2 seconds, and then I remembered all the stress he'd put me through, all the doubt he'd tried to plant in Marcus's head, all the nights I'd lost sleep because of his games. Jake, I don't love you. I haven't loved you for a long time, probably even before we broke up. What you did wasn't love, it was possession and control. Real love doesn't try to sabotage someone's happiness. He kept begging, saying he'd changed, that he was different now. But I was done. The only reason you want me back is because you can't stand that I'm happy without you. You'd rather see me miserable with you than happy with someone else. That's not love, Jake. That's selfishness. I got in my car and drove away, leaving him standing there in the parking lot. I could see him in my rearview mirror, just standing there, looking lost. Update. Okay, everyone, this is the final update. Thank you all so much for following this crazy story and for all your advice and support. I wanted to let you know how everything ended up, and honestly, it's better than I could have hoped for. But I have to ask, do you think people can really change, or was Jake's breakdown just another manipulation tactic? Because what happened next really surprised me. As soon as I got home, I called Marcus and told him about the parking lot encounter. He was worried about me and wanted to come over right away, but I told him I was okay and would see him for dinner as planned. That evening, Marcus showed up at my door with takeout from my favorite Thai place and a bottle of wine. We spread everything out on my living room floor and had a picnic while I told him everything that had happened with Jake. I'm proud of you, Marcus said, pouring me another glass of wine. You handled that perfectly. You were firm, but not cruel. I actually felt kind of sorry for him at the end, I admitted. He looked so pathetic and lost. That doesn't mean you have to fix him, Marcus said. That's not your job anymore. It never was. We spent the rest of the evening talking about our future plans. Marcus had been looking at apartments closer to my work, and we started seriously discussing moving in together. For the first time in months, I felt completely at peace about everything. The next few weeks were blissfully quiet. No more surprise encounters, no more weird messages, no more drama. Marcus and I found a great apartment with a balcony and signed the lease. I aced my midterms for my nurse practitioner program. Life was genuinely good. Then, about 3 weeks ago, I heard through the grapevine what had happened to Jake. Apparently, after losing his job, he'd moved back in with his parents and was working at his dad's construction company. The mutual friend who told me this said he'd been asking about me, but not in a creepy way. More like he was just checking to make sure I was doing okay. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Not an email or a text, but an actual handwritten letter. It was from Jake, and it was different from anything he'd ever said before. In the letter, he apologized for everything, not just the recent stuff, but for how he'd treated me throughout our entire relationship. He acknowledged that he'd been controlling and manipulative, and that his actions after our breakup were inexcusable. He said he was in therapy and working on himself, not to win me back, but because he realized he needed to change. The letter ended with something that actually made me tear up a little. I hope you're happy. I hope Marcus treats you the way you deserve to be treated. I'm sorry it took me losing everything to realize what I put you through. You deserve all the good things, and I'm glad you found someone who sees that. I discussed the letter with Marcus, and we both agreed it seemed genuine. There was no manipulation, no attempt to guilt me or win me back. It was just an apology and a goodbye. I never responded to the letter, and I don't plan to. Some bridges are burned for good reason, and Jake and I will never be friends. But I do hope he gets the help he needs and learns to be better in his future. Relationships, as for me and Marcus, we're doing amazing. We moved in together last month, and we adopted the most adorable golden retriever puppy named Buster, who's currently chewing on one of Marcus's old sneakers as I type this. I'm halfway through my nurse practitioner program and loving every minute of it. Marcus got a promotion at work and surprised me last week with a weekend trip to Napa Valley to celebrate. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I'd stayed with Jake, if I'd accepted his manipulation and control as normal. The thought makes me grateful every day for finding the strength to leave and for finding someone who actually loves and respects me. To anyone out there dealing with a manipulative ex or wondering if they should leave a toxic relationship, trust your gut. You deserve better. There are people out there who will love you without trying to control you, who will support your dreams instead of sabotaging them, and who will respect your boundaries instead of trampling all over them. Jake may have tried to sabotage my new relationship, but in the end, all he did was show me how good I actually have it with Marcus. Sometimes the best revenge really is just living well, and that's my story. Thanks for listening, Reddit. You guys are the best.